So I didn't expect this. 2 weeks ago, I drove to a tiny theater in Santa Clarita to see a ghost screening of a movie called Pillion. I sat in an empty room, I had an existential crisis, and I drove home and made a video about it. I expected that video to get 50 views. I expected it to disappear. Instead, thousands of you showed up, and it was shocking. But the view count isn't what surprised me most. It's that the comment section under that video became much more valuable than the video itself. I gave this movie an 8.5 out of 10, but you guys, you unfolded a conversation, a masterclass in psychology. You didn't just analyze the film, you analyzed me. So today we aren't just doing a follow-up, we're doing a correction because I missed the point of Pillion, and I think I finally figured out why. All right, so to understand why the performance of this video shocked me, I would say you have to look at my relationship with this platform. I'm not new to this. I've uploaded videos for over 10 years, videos that feature my family, vlogs of places we've traveled to like Spain, Japan, and Hawaii. But looking back, that was just me being young, exploring and not really knowing what people wanted to watch or how I could connect with an audience, which is something that I really wanted, especially at times where I've been trying to process my place in the world. I even, and I cannot believe I'm admitting this, appeared in a dating video for a channel with, let's just say, a lot of subscribers that I used to edit for, and I'm not going to link it. If you find it, you find it, but let's just say it was very character building. The point is, for a decade, I have chased the algorithm, and usually those videos just float out into the abyss. And then I post this, just a raw, immediate reaction to a piece of art, not overthinking it, and that is what connected. It taught me that you don't come here for the polish. I don't have to run around the world. You come here because I didn't just share a movie review. I intertwined it with the less flattering, very personal parts of myself. I put my own loneliness on the table, and even though I know it sounds foolish to say, since I posted it on the internet, I really did only anticipate like 50 people would ever see it. So I'm going to be honest about what I learned in the comments because reading them wasn't interesting. It was electrifying. Now, before we get to the specific comments, I need to address the most frequent criticism I received, that my review was self-centered, presumptuous, and that the movie wasn't about me. And you're absolutely right. In one sense, it's very self-centered to be on camera, sitting comfortably on the couch, talking about movies made off the backs of people who poured their blood, sweat, and tears into it. But in another way, that's precisely the magic of cinema. It's to be enjoyed by an audience. Movies are not static facts. They are mirrors we look into, and they are windows into lives we may never experience. And that's why they can be so fascinating. Even if I'm not part of the BDSM community, the film struck a chord with me at a fundamental thematic level about loneliness and control. We all interpret them differently based on so many variables, whether we saw it in the morning or the evening, whether we are in a good or bad mood, how packed and chaotic the parking lot at Burbank 16 was. And I know that watching these videos, it often feels like I'm talking at you. But I hope this video, where I break down my initial mistakes and admit my blind spots, shows that I read, I listen, and I take what you have to say very seriously. So with that spirit of conversation, let's dive into the corrections you convinced me to make. I read every single comment, and that is not hyperbole. Every single comment. And there were 3 specific perspectives that I'd like to highlight. The first comment speaks to the history of BDSM that I missed. And it says, in a very real sense, this is not a traditional BDSM relationship because there is so little negotiation and it's never happening outside the dynamic. This is far more about a form of gay leather culture than general BDSM culture that was far more common in the 80s than now. This is a culture where men won't talk about their feelings, their sadness, the responsibility of what they do with power over others. They work it out in the moment instead of halting the dynamic and having a conversation outside of it. Colin is volunteering for this, all of this. He can say no. Colin gets comfort and pleasure that lifts him through his vanilla life by doing the outrageous, risky stuff that Ray asks. And I want to highlight this comment because as a 35-year-old gay man, it is easy for me to look at the leather scene in Pillion as an aesthetic or just a movie costume. But James reminded me that I was missing the cultural language. This isn't just about a kink. It's about a specific time and place where men don't discuss their emotions. They work them out through ritual. I realized I was looking at this relationship through a fairy tale lens. And because I didn't see it, I judged it. But this comment grounded me. It reminded me that just because a relationship uses a different language than I do, it does not mean it isn't real. Then there was another comment that actually unlocked the entire plot for me. I viewed Ray as an undeniable villain, but look at how he's described here. Skarsgård's character views himself as a trainer, someone who takes on a potential sub and trains them. He's not looking as a long-term match to anyone. He wants a challenge. He does this because he is afraid of letting his guard down. Skarsgård's character gives him that, but it's a portrayal of the vision he sees for himself. To prevent another bargaining, another emotional anything, he up and leaves because he cannot be dynamic. He cannot be intimate. With a clean break, he knows that selling will find his center of gravity, which he does by insisting that a bargain is established that he agrees to. And there's one line in particular of this entire quote that really stuck with me, which is, he knows that Melling will find his center of gravity. That line changed everything for me. In my review, I called Ray a piece of so many times. I viewed him as the villain who abandoned Colin. But if you look at it through the lens of a trainer, the more positive focus is that Colin is graduating from a relationship he has learned many lessons from. Ray refused to go to the funeral. He refused to play boyfriend, not because he intends to be the bad guy, but because he knew he was a temporary chapter. His hyper-independence gave him every right to decide that the dynamic was over. But that same independence is also what forced him to choose the most self-centered way to exit. He knew that if he stayed, Colin would never actually grow up. But the comment that hit the hardest was about the book Box Hill. Many of you pointed out that in the book, Colin is a teenager. In the movie, he is 35. And this is where I had to tell on myself. If Colin was 18, I don't think I would have had such a strong reaction. At 18, you're supposed to be messy. But seeing a man at 35, my age, act so desperate, that is what got to me. I'm 35. I look at my life. I don't own a house. I'm single. I don't have kids or the stability that I believed I would have by now. When I watched Colin, I intertwined myself so deeply with him that I didn't just see a character. I saw a victim. And in doing that, I kind of made myself a victim. I threw a little pity party for myself in that theater. I was angry at the ending because I saw my own loneliness reflected back at me on a massive screen, and I didn't like how it looked. You guys made me realize I wasn't reviewing a movie, I was reviewing my own fear. And that leads me to my final theory. I think Pillion could actually be a psychological test, like a Rorschach test. I started noticing in the comments that people seem to fall into 3 very specific reactions to the ending. And it felt like which one you fell into told you less about the movie and more about what you value in your own life. And I want to read 2 comments that represent the complete opposite ends of the spectrum. And those are, I'll call this Group A, which are the protectors. And there were people who felt pure anger about the ending. And this comment sums it up perfectly. And they say, abuse, total, utter, and complete abuse. However, we have to accept that some people like being victims, sad but true, but on any close analysis, it's absolute abuse. I would say about that, for this group, safety equals independence. You cannot separate the kink from the cruelty. And for me, this was my initial reaction. My default setting is hyper-independence. When I see someone giving up control, I don't see romance. I see danger. And then we have Group B, which I would call the Optimists. And let's look at this comment of someone who watched the exact same movie, saw the exact same ending, and saw something completely different. And they said, as a gay man who has been active intermittently on the fetish skinhead leather scene for many years, I absolutely loved this film. I found the ending uplifting. Colin knows he likes being a sub, but he also has put down markers about what he will and won't do. I believe his new relationship stands a much better chance of working because of that. They found this ending uplifting. This perspective really altered my mind. Where I saw a victim, Andrew saw empowerment. You guys in this group understood that Colin wasn't just giving up. He was finally asking for exactly what he wanted. And then lastly, let's call Group C the realists, have a third way of viewing the film. The people who saw the practical truth of the dynamic but questioned the ethics of the ending. And there's a comment that really summed up this viewpoint perfectly. And it says, for folks outside the BDSM community, looking in, more extreme power exchange relationships can look abusive. The difference is not something that can be shown, as it is all internal. How does the sub feel about it? Is this something they desire? The fact is, some people want only to serve and to follow. But yes, Ray is a jerk to leave right when Colin is about to grow into a new stage of personal development. But it also does come back to the old saying, if you love something, let it go, but not with the caveat and vanish without a word. This acknowledges that the movie's drama comes from the clash between internal desire, Colin's need to serve, and external judgment, which is Ray's selfish exit. They agree Ray had the right to end it, but they disagree with the execution. They see the wisdom in, if you love something, let it go, but they demand a clean termination, not a ghosting. If you watched my original review, I was firmly in Group A, but now, especially after reading Andrew's comment and many other similar comments, that shared point of view, seeing the clean logic of the realists, I kind of envy that they had that perspective on first watch. I think it's an observation less fueled from the baggage I was bringing to it and more of an awareness that Colin's pursuit of this new man isn't another trap for him to fall into. It's a beginning to understanding himself more. And this conversation made me think about why I reacted so strongly to the transactional nature of Pillion. I think it's because I'm always searching for the opposite. I realized that there's a benchmark movie for me, a movie that deals with the same themes: outsiders, hustlers, men on the fringe of society, but handles the intimacy in a completely different way. And that movie is My Own Private Idaho. If you haven't seen it, it stars River Phoenix and Keanu Reeves, and there is a scene, the campfire scene, that is basically the antithesis of the park scene in Pillion. In Pillion, the intimacy is cold. It's a bargain. But in Idaho, River Phoenix's character confesses his love to Keanu Reeves by a fire. He knows Keanu doesn't love him back. He knows it's hopeless, but he says it anyway. And Keanu doesn't mock him. He doesn't train him. He just holds him. To me, that is a masterpiece. It completely ignores the typical physical romance tropes and goes straight for the soul. I realized that's what I wanted from Pillion. I wanted the warmth of My Own Private Idaho, and when I got what I had, interpreted it as a cold ending in Pillion, I rejected it. But I want to thank everyone who commented, as I'm realizing that both versions are valid. One is a poem, and one is a contract. And honestly, it's not my place to say which is the healthier outlook. I just happen to prefer the poem. So that brings me to the what now? I drove alone on a whim to Santa Clarita for a movie, and it somehow led to this massive group therapy session. And I don't want to lose that. But I need to ask you a specific question about the direction of this channel. I don't want to assume I know why you subscribed. Are you here specifically for gay cinema? Is the draw that we are talking about gay characters and gay stories? Or are you here for my perspective on cinema in general? Because personally, I love queer cinema, and there's a lot to talk about, but I don't want to be boxed in with that necessarily. I want to be able to apply this level of analysis to all movies, whether that's a new blockbuster or a 90s indie. So knowing that, I see 3 paths for us, and I'd like to know what you want. So option 1, we go back to movies like My Own Private Idaho. We find the films, gay or straight, that rewrote the rules of intimacy. Or there's option 2. We stick to the new stuff. I keep driving to random theaters all over California. We analyze culture while the cement is still wet. We take the movies everyone is talking about and we find the angle nobody is talking about. And an example of this, for some reason I'm very excited for Emerald Fennell's take on Wuthering Heights. I can't say I'll find a secret screening like I did for Pillion, but I do my best to get an advanced screening so I can talk about it as soon as possible. Or there is option 3. We keep going down the rabbit hole of movies like Pillion. We explore the shadow self, the subcultures, the psychology of the things we're afraid to admit we like. Movies like Cruising, SLC Punk, Saturday Night Fever. I know that was a very random string of movies, but is it that or is it a mix of all of this? And actually, I have an idea, and I think it would be really interesting. I could set up a voting system on the community tab where every month I pitch 3 movies I'm considering, and you guys can decide what I review. But please let me know if that sounds fun or if that's too much homework. I understand I'm asking a lot. The point is, all of these sound interesting to me, but I want to make something that we all want to talk about. And one quick housekeeping thing. A few of you asked if there is a way to support the channel. I want to be clear, you watching and commenting is support enough, and I mean that. But if you did want to chip in, I've set up a Ko-fi account where every cent goes directly to my monthly Adobe subscription for editing. Again, there is absolutely no obligation, but the link is in the description if you want it. And finally, I just want to say thank you for your time. Time is the most valuable thing. And as an editor, I spend my life manipulating time. I spend hundreds of hours alone in dark rooms, moving clips around, hoping that something lands. And usually it's a solitary process. You do the work, you put it out, and you move on. But with this video, to feel that connection come back, to see so many of you decide to hit subscribe and join the conversation, that brings me a sense of fulfillment that I haven't felt in a very long time. It makes all those hours in the darkroom worth it. So thank you for watching. Thank you for correcting me. Thank you for sharing your own personal stories. And if you enjoyed this, please check out my other movie reviews. I've got a library building up that I'd love your feedback on. I hope you stick around for more, and I hope that this is just the beginning.